prepared you for this one.
You have, yes.
How can music benefit anyone with hearing loss and anyone who is blind?
So it can benefit them in many ways because obviously, like I said before, music therapy is a lot to do with the senses, with hearing, seeing, etc. So I kind of have a few examples because I feel like sometimes examples are good to explain things and it's easier. So everyone should probably know Beethoven, right? This very well known, I think 18th century, 19th century, somewhere around there. I should know, but anyway, I learned a lot about him in my music degree.
It shows.
Huh?
It shows.
Oh, okay, thank you. I'm learning. So he's a classical composer, so he writes classical music. And during his life, he gradually lost his hearing. So he had to find ways to continue making music despite his hearing loss. So by age 40, he was completely deaf, but he wrote his most famous symphony, which is a fancy way of saying a song that he wrote. That's one way to put it. And the symphony that he wrote was his ninth symphony. And if you haven't heard it, then it's probably on Spotify or YouTube somewhere, so you can just listen to that. And it's a song that represents about living in peace and harmony together. Considering he was losing his hearing, and I can't imagine what that is like, because it must be scary at some points, because obviously you need hearing to survive with certain things.
And plus, how would you listen to white radio without hearing? I just can't imagine life without white radio.
I haven't got an answer to that yet, but yeah. But something that Beethoven did to help him compose music was he had a friend who was a musician and an inventor, and his friend Johann, I think I'm pronouncing that right, he made a trumpet-like kind of instrument, and it had a funnel-shaped end, and it basically collected the sound and directed it into Beethoven's ear so he could hear it. It's a lot to do with surface area and stuff, but I don't want to get into the science of it. It just basically amplified the sound for him during his hearing loss, because he wasn't completely deaf until he was at the age of 40. But in general, most people who are deaf, they use vibrations to listen to music, so they feel instead of hear. So that's one way of doing it. I don't know if that will work with bright radio. And then you also mentioned about people who are blind and how they like playing instruments and stuff in that sense. Because obviously they will be able to hear the music.
Yeah.
But in order to play the music, so when I was younger, my grandma gave me a book, and she likes to give me the books that are based on true stories for anyone who fancies reading it after I've talked about it. It is called A Blind Girl's Song, and it's based off someone who wrote a lot of songs back in the 19th century, 1800s, I think that's right. And yeah, so she used a lot of methods to create her songs, and she would just compose the songs in her mind, and then she would tell people who have sight her vision for the song, and then they would help her out with that. So yeah, that's pretty cool. And so she wrote one of the well-known hymns, Blessed Assurance. So some people may know that, some people may not. If you do not, you can listen. You can not listen. It's up to you. But yeah, so I think she's definitely an inspiration in that, because despite her blindness, and especially times back then were hard, she still kept writing, and she still kept believing in what she believed in. So that was good.